on November 1st, 2016. And then in the springtime of 2017, Alliance had put out an RFP. Other than that, the other MCOs were more informal about that we were working in about doing services. So, but we were, if you look at our demographics, we have participated in in 5 of the MCOs so far.
Right. So the demographics that you're looking at right now is a snapshot of who we're serving today between the start of supported living and now. We have served other people in at least one other MCO area, but what you'll see today is who we're serving as of right now. It's a snapshot of today. So you can see there are people with across a variety of ages. We've actually served someone who is younger, even younger than 27, and 2 of the people that we're serving have been through college programs, and some of them have lived in group homes before, and a few, and you'll see some of the people we're serving now, they were already living in their own home in some form or fashion. Supported living allowed them to be served a little bit differently, more flexibility in the hours of support and how they were being supported.
And I think when we looked at the folks that we've done total, attending college definitely has given folks an advantage, where they've gotten to live in a dorm and they've had roommates and they've had schedules and away from home. So we felt like, let's look at that. That was one of the measures we wanted to check. And we've had others that we've worked with that have attended college and found that they were more than ready to go out and live in their home, and that was a goal.
Yeah, that's right. I think we're ready to move to the next slide. Okay, so as you see here, people are living in a variety of different settings, houses, apartments, condominiums. Some people actually own their own home, or their family has purchased it for them. The vast majority of people are renting. We'll talk a little bit more about how they're doing that in a future slide. And some people, most of them are living alone in their own homes. One person has a roommate that's just a roommate and isn't providing any paid support to them at all, and another person has a paid support who is also a live-in caregiver. And do you want to talk about that a little bit?
And that was, and that's a new piece that we have, where the family went and was very involved in finding the person, and she is living there as a roommate. They have a home, and it's accessible, and she can go and use the van and drive her around and help her out, and it looks like it's going to be a good match. And I think the success of that live-in caregiver was definitely a family that did the interviewing, and they really worked hard. And that's what the live-in caregivers, that's where we found that if family, it's been most successful when family was very involved in the whole process of interviewing and finding.
Right. And really key to that is also defining that relationship. We have used roommate agreements that really cover every aspect of living together, from how utilities are paid to groceries to who can visit and so on. Really defining the parameters of that relationship in an agreement before you start can really help to ward off any conflicts that might arise.
Yeah.
There'll always be challenges, but if you can set some boundaries ahead of time, then
that helps.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. Okay, I think maybe we're ready to move along. So finances is a big component of how people can afford to do this, right?
Yes, it sure is.
And so some people are, a couple of folks we're serving are getting some sort of rental assistance through the KEY program or other subsidies through HUD, Section 8, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of people, families were in a position they were able to purchase a home for the person, for their family member to live in.
And some of the people that are renting with traditional landlords, I mean, they've even found, as we said, one young man knew he couldn't live in an apartment by himself, so he went and found a roommate and was able to do that. But and so that was very helpful for him. But the landlords have been very positive, and it's been working. I think that was something that was mentioned in the very first one by that other group that's doing it, is having a good relationship with landlords.
Yeah, yeah.
It's important.
If you can, and of course the other challenge is finding affordable housing that anyone can afford. But,
yes.
And some people, so you see that there are some of the people that we're serving are getting some sort of financial assistance from their family for a variety of things. It could be utilities, groceries.
Just something to go and supplement.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but 4 of the people are actually doing it on their own wages, what they make for working, and other public benefits like SSI, food stamps, those types of public benefits.
Yep. That's it. Oh, she jumped in there.
All right. So the different types of support that people are getting.
That we serve, yeah. So we've got a breakdown. We have the majority are getting the supported living level 1.
Right.
We do have 3 people.
3 people are at a level 2. But
okay.
one of them has an individualized rate
yes.
that actually pays as
That's
if
right.
they, or reimburses as if they were a level 3. But they're actually a level 2 in terms of needs and the CIS or...
I think when they decided that the staff didn't have to be awake during the night, but they do have staff there. So that's why that they needed that. They're still working out some of the issues on supporting the individual. And there was still some concerns. So, it's a slow process, but, who knows where we'll be in a year.
Well, and I think what we've learned from that is that with supported living, there is a level of flexibility in trying to make things work for people.
Well, yeah, we have found that, and even with funding in the different MCOs, if we needed to get more funding initially to do something, if we can just go and show what it looks like on paper and can justify it, they've been more than open to helping us. But we have to, still be looking at it, every 90 days or whatever, and good planning and the teamwork coming together on how we're going to go and how we're going to fade this or try this new piece and what will help. We were also wanted to talk about transition services. Presently, of the 7 people we're working with now, 2 have used it, and it's being used different ways across the state. But transition services has been a wonderful, we've used it for other folks outside of supported living. It's being done a little bit different in different MCOs across the state. One MCO, they actually purchase all the items for the family, and they work closely with the family to go and itemize what's needed. Most of the other MCOs or the others will go, and there is a set list of what's approved. You establish what that set list is. You get it approved by the MCO, by and you then can get the provider. It's usually through the community guide or community navigator that gets to purchase these items for the family and try and make sure that they're there within this 3-month period, which really you want to start the service prior to the move so that everything is there and arrives there on time so they have a bed to sleep in when they get there.
And dishes.
And dishes, and it's really it's a great list of things that we can share with you if you don't have it already. We do even have, and I'm going to share with one MCO, we even have an agreement that once we get the list approved, we submit it and they cut us a check for the full $5,000, which it allows it. And then within 30 days after we've purchased everything and the services end, we sort of settle up. And if we didn't, spend everything that we said we were, they go and they take money back, or we go and give them more money. We sort of work on it that way, and that has worked very well for us. So just wanted to let you know it's a good service to use with this, to pair with this service. It works well.
Right. Okay.
So,
next slide, please.
Yeah, we've had quite a few questions come in, so I thought maybe we would just take a quick break and answer some of those
Sure.
questions.
Can we see them?
I don't think you can.
Okay.
Oh.
But
Well, you
I
can
can read them out
you
to
can
you.
just ask them.
Yeah.
How do we do that, Kelly?
Well, I can read them out to you. So,
Okay.
how is supported living divided between other services that the individual may receive, or how do you coordinate with other services that the individual may receive?
Other services, I'm assuming you mean like other, community, the question means other community-based services like supported employment or
Yes.
community networking or something like that.
Yeah.
In that case, one of the things about supported living is that that makes it so flexible is that you're paid a daily rate. And so the hours out of the day that the person receives that service are really based around a schedule that you make in conjunction with the person, or I should say is made with that person, how their day is going to flow.
Mm-hmm.
They might need some support at home in the morning to get through their morning routine to when they're to the point where they're going to leave home and go out into the community either to work or make other things they're doing, and that's when those other services would take over. Supported living and, supported employment or community networking, something like that. Depending on the activity, it could fall under supported living, or it could be part of one of those other services. But people can have those other services.
And if you're talking about supported living and the person's is interested in moving into their own home, you would want to talk about that transition services. Do you need furniture? Are there things that you need to be able to move into that home? So that would, coupled with, that would be a question I think you would ask right when the topic of supported living came up, so that you made sure that it was all synchronized and happened at the same time.
Right.
Great.
So there's, you can have those other services. You create a schedule based on how the person lives their life and their day, and you can...
And you can do it up to, in addition to supported living, you can have up to 40 hours? I think it is.
Yeah.
But you do what makes sense, makes sense for the family.
Yeah, and so
or the individual.
Supported living can stop and start throughout the day.
Yeah.
It's just, but the provider only receives one payment for the day, and you serve the person and their needs for that day. And I hope that answers the question.
Yes, thank you so much. A question we received from Aura is, can you clarify how an individualized rate is accomplished, if you have any information about that?
Well, I think every MCO has some sort of mechanism for that. They're all a little bit different. There's usually some sort of budgeting portion. You've got to show how that rate is going to be used, or how you arrived at the rate
that you're requesting.
In terms of dollar amounts, and then some sort of narrative that goes along with that, explaining the person's need and explaining why a rate outside of the established rates is necessary. And again, every MCO has some sort of mechanism for the submission and how they review that. So you'd have to reach out to the MCO in your area typically through your provider network contacts on how to do that.
Yes, and we've had a lot of people ask about what the daily rates are. So the daily rates are information that you would want to go to your local management entity, managed care organization, your LME MCO, to receive that information on. So, okay, well, that was the questions that we had so far. So if you guys want to go ahead and continue. Next slide.
Okay, if you want to move us to the next slide.
There you go.
Okay, so here are some of the other services that people we're serving are receiving. So some of them are receiving community networking, supported employment, or even a combination of both.
Mm-hmm.
And it really, it's really based on their life and what they're how they're living it.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of matching a service or matching them to a service, it's matching a service to them and the needs that they have.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And so 3 of the folks that we're working with or supporting, they are working in competitive employment, earning wages. 2 people are actually self-employed.
Mm-hmm.
And then people do a variety of other things, volunteering, making, selling art, right? Whatever the activities are that they
want to do.
That they want to do.
And it's available in their community.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And try and encourage that.
And we'll talk a little bit more like for some people, just choice making and even knowing what to choose or
challenge
is a challenge, right? Mm-hmm. So you've really got to be able to help people. Some people have never really been offered a variety of choices. They don't know how to choose or what their options even are.
Exactly.
So you've just got to do some exploration and explore with people and see what they respond to,
mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, well, I think we're ready to move on. Okay, so here's
service level takeaways.
Yeah, so things we've learned about the different levels.
So we sort of have a thing on supported living level 1. We definitely feel like it can be a lot more flexible, and the days that you want to have services, the number of hours you want to have per service, those folks seem to be a little bit more independent. Then we also looked at that we feel that the folks that are under level 1 seem to have more control over when they do get services. I think that their schedule, especially I'm thinking about people where their work schedule comes in, and then that's when staff comes to maybe work with them or get them to work, and maybe you're there part of the time or whatever their needs are. So that is more that whole piece of flexibility we keep talking about. And if we don't have as many hours to use, we usually can go and pay a higher staff rate, and or maybe somehow incentivize the outcomes to get good things happening in people's lives, reach their dreams besides living, in the community. What else do they want to achieve? So that's important.
Yeah, I think we found that people who are getting supported living level 1, generally speaking, their support needs are lower.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They're able to and want to spend time alone.
Yes.
Which is, something we forget about sometimes, that sometimes people just want to be alone, and that's okay. So, and the flexibility allows for the person to say, for them to choose and direct when they get services. Mm-hmm. And if they decide, they want to be done at 4 o'clock instead of 6 o'clock, they can do that. Mm-hmm. They can say, go home to staff. And because it's a daily rate, and because we're able to pay, often pay people a little bit more than traditional services, it may not have the same impact as if a staff being paid hourly, if you will, to miss an hour of work. So it really gives people in getting level 1 seem to have more control in directing their services.
And this has sort of worked for us too, because of the way we even budget around people. where we sort of pool dollars from all the services that they get, and then we look at how do we go and utilize those dollars most effectively. So it allows us to do that, just the way it's spent. So, you know, if it's less, we can give more, or they,
Right.
yeah.
And we're able sometimes to incentivize certain outcomes that the person has,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm, you know, can't think of an example at the moment, but really...
Wasn't it somebody going to transportation? There was a transportation thing that we were
Right,
talking
yeah.
about giving, where it was, they wanted to attend something, but it was sort of farther away, maybe in a whole other community.
Right.
And were we offering...
We were able to pay a stipend for the staff to travel and provide the transportation there, a lot of gas, beyond the hourly rate. So we were able to do that.
But it was a time limited kind of activity
Right.
that she could benefit from. So it was important to do.
It
So
was,
we were able to do it.
and it was important to the person. So
yes.
we were able to do that. So, I think we found with level 2 and level 3, a person's need for support is often greater. So you can be challenged sometime with your ability to do the same sort of pay incentives and flexibility. The more hours of support you have to cover, especially if it's 24-hour support or even awake support, then that just gets stretched a little bit further.
Stretches the dollars for sure.
And often the folks who are getting that level of support, it may be the first time they've ever lived anywhere other than their family home or a group home or something like that. And often these are the folks you may be having to
work on those self-advocacy skills, the choice-making that you mentioned earlier.
Right, the choice-making.
How huge that is.
If you don't know how to make a choice, and it's not between, one thing and its opposite, it's all the different kinds of possibilities.
That and those independent living skills that we really have to emphasize with folks.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
All right, so I think that covers that one. Oh yeah, so these are some things that we have found that make it successful.
Yeah.
With the success that we've had, right?
Mm-hmm.
So people having direct access to their supports.
Yes.
Themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Without a lot of intermediaries.
Yep, where if the self-advocates can go and the people living in their own homes can go and contact their CUE or their staff freely, it just seems like it works easier, you know, and teaching them how to do that and how to go and work together to go and set up a schedule to make sure they're getting those supports that they need and to be where they need to be, whether at work or a volunteer or church or whatever. I think that is very important, that first one, that access.
Right.
And good communication. We found a strong natural support network is very important too.
If people have that established already, makes a huge difference in their ability to succeed, because trying to build that while you're starting to live in your own home, which you may have never done before, it's just another challenge, right?
It sure is.
Yeah.
We have had some people too that have actually moved into some other communities. Not their home community, but they've had some life experiences like college, and that sort of gives you those experiences so that you can make that transition smoother.
Right. And if people are excited about living in their own home,
oh yeah.
If they're not, then it's
motivation.
Yeah. If they're not, it's really hard to support someone to live that way if that's not the way they want to live.
Right.
Right.
Right. So community connections is important. People working in the community, I think that's is a great way. The fact that we have the people out there having jobs, because I think you feel more connected. You have a different identity when you come home, and you can say, hey, or talk to even neighbors about, oh, what are you doing? And I'm working, and you get pulled into your community more if you can go and at least show participating in something in your community and something to even talk about it and communicate with folks and to be excited about.
Right. And so, and on the provider side, partnering with whatever their natural support networks are, right?
Mhm.
That is critical. And really knowing what what their vision for their life is.
Mhm. I mean, we do ask, what's your dream? And we've had a couple say, oh, I've always wanted to live by myself. And then others are like, they're not really sure what they want, but they're open to it, and they would like a nice room to be in, and okay, they'll learn how to do this, they'll learn how to do that, and they
want to try.
They want to try it, and then that's what's important. And this service gives them that opportunity to try it.
Right, and really being honest and upfront with people and expectations.
Yes.
And we mentioned before that the daily rate, really being able to allows for some creativity and flexibility in how people are supported and what you can do with that. And the service definition really allows the support to really fit the person's life, because it is very open and flexible. One of the hardest things to get about it is that it's
open and flexible.
That it's open and flexible.
Yeah, for
because
sure.
So many things are not.
Yeah.
But if you know the person, their dream, what their outcomes are, you can you can work this service to fit that.
Yes, you can.
Which is pretty exciting, I think. And I don't know. I think we might have another slide.
I think so.
Aha.
Challenges.
Yeah, because there's always those.
Yeah. So,
heavy side.
Heavy side. So we've been saying to you that levels 2 and 3, it definitely, those folks need more support hours, and so that doesn't necessarily equal higher wages. That's when we have to go, and we've done with the more hours we've had to go and ask for specialized rate or individualized rate requests, and what I said to you, the MCOs have just been more than happy to, as long as we were able to justify, have been more than happy to go and give us that funding. But they're looking to see that we're getting results, and that your rates might get reduced over time. And sometimes it does take a long time to change behaviors and teach and get people connected. But that's one of the challenges to success. So it works for us. You want to talk about the risk?
Sure. Yeah. Supported living does involve some level of risk, except for people to live maybe on their own and maybe have never done that before, and that can be really hard for families. I think we've seen that, and every family, of course, is different. If the person's excited about it, then that's good. But it can be hard for families to take that plunge, that leap, and leave a person alone overnight, right?
Right.
In their own home, and that shift from a caregiving role to a support role can be a challenge too. For a person who's maybe used to being caretaken, or whatever the right word is there, and for families and even for staff, a shift in mindset for staff they were really, with this service, really trying to follow the person's lead instead of staff leading the person.
You know what another challenge I'm even thinking about is, and in creating goals to support the individual, because, the goals in the job description is what guide the staff, but to have, in finding staff that understand what our intention is and how to go and make sure you have a good match, and that they understand It's sort of being there in their home and helping them to be as comfortable as possible, helping them to go and to cook and clean in their kitchen and do their laundry, but get some natural processes going, and that may not be a specific goal for every single thing that person needs, but it still has to happen. you know?
And matching the right person,
Yeah.
A staff person who doesn't have a lot of connections in the community themselves may not be the right person to help someone else make connections.
Yeah.
Trying to find people who are already connected,
Yeah.
or, a staff person who maybe doesn't cook at home may not be the right person
Yeah.
to show or to teach someone how to cook. So
Yeah.
it really is about finding the right match. Of course, affordable housing is a challenge.
Yeah, it's huge
everywhere.
And even getting on lists, any kind of public list, you're there for possibly years.
That's a whole other webinar.
Yeah, a whole nother one. So, but then also living alone can be, maybe isn't always affordable. And we have found that family provide financial assistance and support, because there are other costs out there. I mean, we can help look for some other things, with a community navigator. They can perhaps help to maybe get a Y membership paid through something, or but there's ways to do it, and that communication is very important.
Right. Well, and roommates are good options for that too. If someone, just like everyone else, you may need to live with someone to share the cost of living. Finding live-in caregivers, that can be a challenge.
I think that is, it's not easy to do. We've had our most success where family or even staff of family have gone and been out there just sort of, pecking out there, trying to figure out, or even getting people who are interested in participating. And once they do find one, it's, you want to latch onto these folks. But we've had some success in two instances that we have over the couple of years that we've been doing supported living.
Right.
And it seems to have worked.
Right. And then, of course, just there may be some folks whose support need can't be met by the dollar limit in the waiver. And it's, just the fact.
Because if you even do, supported living level 3, for a whole year, and then you add a couple other very important services that they may need in order to make it, then you're bumping against that limit or need to go over. And so, 135 sometimes is not enough. Yeah. And there are people that have needs that need more, so.
So, Holly, Duncan, we've received some great questions kind of related to the challenges and ways that you guys have met those challenges. Emily asked, do you guys use assistive technology to help increase independence and reduce the need for support staff? If so, would you please provide some examples?
Well, we've had people, we've used some technology with doors making, sounds on doors, lights going on to help in stairways. They've, technology, I'm trying to think on some of the other ones. Maybe voice, some people have gone and even had voice communication with families in the kitchen. That the mom might be available during that time to help them doing some cooking. Hey, remember how to do this? We've had people talk people through. We have gone and talked about also folks that maybe get up in the middle of the night and maybe just go to the bathroom, but then they don't go. They're not going right back to bed, and that we would go and look into going and maybe saying, okay, it's time to get back to bed. It's still nighttime. Let's get a few more hours of sleep, something like that, so that they would sort of get some guidance to go back to bed instead of maybe going out and wandering around their house or possibly going outside. Those are a few things I can think off the top of my head.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the people we're supporting here on the western part, and for those folks, they're not using assisted technology. We've talked about it in a number of ways for some people that we have explored the possibility of doing supported living. So, we're kind of talking about people that we're serving today, but So there are some people we've talked about, if we were to do it, would we use it? Would we use, the pill dispenser box, bed sensor, things like that. There's some people, there's concerns about stoves and things. So there certainly are options out there. I personally don't have a whole lot of experience in people with supported living for that. So, anyways, that was a long answer.
Yeah, for those interested in kind of technology solutions that might enable more independence, not only for supported living, just for anybody with disability in general, I recommend you guys go look at the Simply Home website. So if you look up Simply Home North Carolina, they're a technology provider that has a lot of innovative solutions. So it might be a great place for family members or individuals to look. Another question that we received is, how is the ARC paying their live-in caregivers? Are they hourly employees that clock in and out? How does this payment for these types of employees work?
For live-in caregivers, we usually go and we'll pay them a day rate. And, we'll pay them a day rate. And let's think about this. And I want to say, because we're contracting them, we are not even, we don't even have them as a 1099 employee. We have them.
They're a contractor.
They're a contractor, but we don't go and we follow that difficulty of care where somebody can go in and will live with somebody. Sort of like it was born out of foster care, the difficulty in care. It used to be IRS Rule 131, and now it's got a different number. But you can still look it up there. And so that is non-tax dollars that we will even pay for a live-in caregiver.
Right. Yeah, and you could do it. You could do it either way. You could do it as a daily rate or
you could do it hourly.
Or hourly. You could do that too. That you're paying for their service, for certain times of the day. You may have other staff. I think we should make that clear. Just because someone has a live-in caregiver doesn't mean that they are the sole provider of services to the person. There may be other people working other times of the day. The live-in caregiver may only be there just as a presence overnight, so that someone's not staying alone. They're there if support is needed. They may not necessarily be awake, or awake or asleep. So it's a variety of different ways. Their sole job, if you will, could only be, or could just be, to be that overnight presence, and the person's being supported by other paid staff throughout the day.
Great, thank you guys so much for that. Another question that we have is, do the hourly rates or do the rates overall for your staff look different for individuals who receive different levels of services?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
So you're saying,
if somebody was a level 2 or 3, would their staff receive a higher rate of pay than somebody who might be serving a level 1 individual?
Well, maybe not. It kind of depends. The way we do, or the way we figure staff pay is, I think Holly mentioned it earlier, we do an individual budget for everyone that we support, looking at the services that they're getting and the typical amounts of those services that they receive may not be the same as what's authorized, and from that we can project a revenue budget, and then we look at the number of hours of service, and that helps us determine what we can pay staff. So with supported living, even though it's a daily rate, you really need to know or have your best guess of how many hours of support that person's going to need in a day. And then from that helps us figure out what we can pay and still meet overhead costs and so forth. So it varies, and every person, every situation is different. So,
because we might even go or we will, if the person's getting community networking or supported employment, we would even put that projected revenue into the budget
right.
to determine wages. And so, and there may be a staff person that may do some support, may document some supported living and community networking that during the hours that they worked. Or they may document some supported living and supported employment during the hours. So we strive to try and pay, as high as we can. And I always, thought about, you don't want to go and just keep dropping rates and raising rates. You want staff to perform at the highest level they can perform. So, when staff would get paid lower rates for respite as opposed to, so you don't want them thinking, oh, whoa, it's time to do this.
Right.
So I think that's what we try and do, is we try and maybe find a rate that works and across the services for that individual, and then and maybe hopefully there's some room there, and that as they stay longer and are successful, we can go and give them more if possible.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much for that explanation.
Sure.
Another question, a question from Donnie. He asks, in supported living 1 setting, is it possible to have a caregiver or staff as a roommate? And they say that they are aware that the staff would have to be included in the leasing agreement.
So wait, what was the first part of that question? Say it again, could you?
Yeah, if an individual is receiving supported living level 1, is it possible for them to have a caregiver or a staff as a roommate?
Yes.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
That was the easiest question we had.
Answered. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, it's possible.
Mhm.
Was there a second part of that question?
Nope, that was the question. One thing that's come up a lot.
No, you can do that.
Yep.
Wonderful. One question that's come up a lot within this initiative is finding and retaining qualified staff. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the ARC's best practice to find and retain good supported living staff?
Wow. Well, just like any staff, right? You got to be creative in how you recruit them. So we put ads on Indeed and all of those types of places. A lot of word of mouth.
Right, through families and their networks.
Yeah. We also we try to encourage our staff, if they encounter someone out in the world, that they receive really good customer service from. Those tend to be the folks who really, I think, excel. People who have good customer service skills. Those are the ones you want, or I should say who do really well at this work. So, and then we described for you our budgeting process and how we arrive at rates of pay. So we really are striving to maximize what we can pay staff. We don't always succeed, and but that is what we're striving to do, so that once you find good staff, you can keep them, and then in keeping them, it's more than just pay, right? This work or any job is more about pay, or more than just pay. There's a lot of you have to do a lot of employee engagement, right?
You sure do. Yep.
You need to know who's working for you. You need to know about their life and and care, because oftentimes we find people that people.
Oops, it looked like we have lost Duncan and Holly.
Oh, we're here.
Okay,
Can you hear us?
perfect. It cut out for a minute, so.
Yeah.
Sorry
Got a little
about that.
excited there.
He was using his hands a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, so
You have to be
So
very
we,
cautious about employee retention. I understand.
Yeah, oh, you get excited about that.
You do. Employee engagement, that's what we were talking about.
Engagement. And just, I think listening to staff and what they're going through, celebrate some things that are happening that they're successful at doing and supporting individuals in doing. It's not only always documenting and did you document, but or you say, oh, that's such a wonderful thing, put that down on your note today. We need to remember that happened and how we're so happy that you're here. And you got to love on staff. You have to, because we're in just such a crazy market now. And
well, and knowing going into it, like it's the rare staff that stays, forever, whatever that is. So you may only have that person in your employment for a year or two, if you're lucky.
That was a year or two as well.
So during that year or two, that they might leave your agency for another one. They might go on and do something else. But if you can, beyond just the paycheck, that they have an experience that they take with them, that makes it somehow that the work made a difference for them too. That
they feel good about themselves.
Right.
It seems like those are the folks that seem to stay.
I think so.
Yeah.
So.
And it's, I always wanted to, I hope somebody they'd come and there maybe was a little red tattoo circle behind their ear, their left ear, and then I go, oh, that must be one of those people. But you don't know. They come in all shapes and sizes, and you sure don't know who's gonna click. I think involving the individual in the interview process and family is good. And we've had lots of success with family finding, family friends or to be a part. And it seems like if they feel like they're a part of their community or network, it can be successful and people do stick around.
Right. Yeah.
Is that
great?
It's a challenge.
Well, wonderful. I think that's some great information. So, well, we are at the top of the hour, and
oh wow.
Yes, we have a couple other questions that are a little more technical or that are more individualized. So I'll be contacting those individuals after the webinar and doing some follow-up with them then. But I would like to thank you, Holly and Duncan, for participating today. Quick reminder, we will be sending out a survey about this webinar shortly after it concludes. Please take your time and fill that out for us to make sure that we're giving you information that's beneficial for you. In addition, the recording of this webinar will be made available on the DD Council website, and that website is nccdd.org. Thank you all and have a fabulous day. Thank you, Holly. Thank you, Duncan.
Thank you.